Chapter 2. One cold morning, Oliver got up very early and left the workhouse. Looking back from time to time, he walked quickly and did not stop for 5 miles. He had only a penny and a piece of bread, but he didn't care. In London, a boy could earn his own living. London was 70 miles away, but Oliver kept walking. When night came, he went into a meadow and slept under a haystack. The next few days were the same. Oliver's penny bought him one small loaf, but soon he was hungry again. The only food he had eaten in days was some bread and cheese a kind old woman had given him. On the 7th day, Oliver came to a little town. His feet were bleeding and they were covered in dust. Exhausted, he sat down on a step. Hours later, when he looked up, he saw a rather strange boy standing in front of him. He was about 13, short for his age, and very dirty. He wore a man's hat and coat, and although he was young, he looked like he knew how to take care of himself. He spoke to Oliver.
"Hello, my covey. What's the row?"
Oliver didn't understand, but he guessed the boy was asking how he was.
"I'm very hungry and tired,"
said Oliver.
"I have been walking for 7 days."
Tears came into his eyes as he spoke.
"Walking for 7 days?"
exclaimed the boy.
"Well, you need to eat. I haven't got much money, but it's enough for some food, my friend. As for my name, they call me the Artful Dodger."
After the Artful Dodger had bought some ham and bread, he asked Oliver where he was going. When he said he was going to London, he asked if he had anywhere to stay there. Oliver said no.
"I know a respectable old gentleman there who will give you a place to live and food to eat and not ask for any money at all,"
the Dodger said. Oliver had not slept under a roof for a week, so this offer sounded good to him. When they got to London, the Dodger led Oliver along a narrow, muddy street with old and dirty houses. Oliver didn't like that place at all. But then his companion pushed open the door of one of the houses, pulled Oliver in, and called out,
"Plummy and Slam."
This seemed to be a secret code, because an unseen voice told them to enter. The room was black with age and dirt, and an old man was cooking sausages in a corner. He had unwashed red hair and was wearing a dirty old shirt. The table was set for dinner, and there was also a large pile of purses on it.
"Fagin,"
said the Dodger to the old man.
"This is my new friend, Oliver Twist."
"We are very glad to see you, Oliver, very,"
said Fagin, and smiled. They had dinner together. Fagin seemed to like the Artful Dodger very much, and praised him for being a hard worker. Oliver realized this was because the Dodger had brought home the pile of purses on the table. The Dodger must make purses, he thought. Oliver asked if he could learn how to make purses too. For some reason, Fagin and the Dodger laughed very hard.
"Certainly, my dear Oliver. In a few days, the Dodger will show you how."
Some days later, the Dodger and Oliver set off for a rich part of London. The Dodger walked very slowly, looking around. He didn't seem very keen to get to work. Then, as they entered a square, he suddenly grabbed Oliver's arm and pointed.
"Do you see that old man by the bookstall?"
Oliver looked and saw an old gentleman reading a book.
"He'll do,"
said the Dodger. Oliver had no idea what he was talking about. The Dodger slowly walked towards the old gentleman. Watching in amazement, Oliver saw the Dodger put his hand into the gentleman's pocket and pull out a purse, which he then put into his own pocket. Busy reading his book, the man took no notice of what had happened. Suddenly, Oliver understood everything. His new friends, Fagin and the Dodger, were thieves and pickpockets. Shocked, Oliver turned and ran. At the same instant, the old man by the bookstall put his hand in his pocket and realized that his purse was missing. When he saw Oliver running, he cried out,
"Stop, thief!